It started with a glance. Not a single syllable exchanged, not even the faintest brush of skin. Just that one piercing glance across the polished mahogany conference table. Amid the droning hum of fluorescent lights and the monotonous slide of PowerPoint presentations, and in that instant, my mind abandoned the quarterly revenue forecasts entirely. Instead, it fixated on him, Dr. Elias Thorne, my superior, the man who commanded the room with an effortless authority that made everyone else seem like mere shadows. He was the epitome of forbidden allure, the kind of man who should come with a warning label. Towering at 6'4", with a build honed from years of disciplined gym routines and weekend hikes in the mountains, his presence alone could dominate any space. His voice was a deep, resonant timbre like aged scotch poured over ice, smooth, intoxicating, with just enough bite to linger. And those eyes, steel gray, sharp as a scalpel, capable of stripping away layers without a word or a gesture. At 45, he'd been married once, a union that ended in a quiet divorce 5 years ago. No children to tie him down, no lingering entanglements, just a laser-focused dedication to his work as the CEO of Thorne Innovations, a cutting-edge tech firm specializing in AI-driven solutions. Lately, though, that focus had shifted subtly, unnervingly, onto me. My name is Jordan Hayes. I'm 28, fresh out of grad school with a degree in computer science, and I'd landed the role as his executive assistant 8 months ago. At first, it felt like a golden opportunity, a fast track to climbing the corporate ladder in Silicon Valley's ruthless ecosystem. But somewhere along the way, the job morphed into something more personal. I began anticipating our daily briefings, the way his baritone voice would rumble through the intercom summoning me to his office, or the accidental yet deliberate graze of his knuckles against my arm as he reached for a file across my desk. The ambiguity gnawed at me. How do you confront your boss about the unspoken electricity crackling between you? How do you voice the suspicion that he's picturing you in ways that have nothing to do with spreadsheets or deadlines? So I played it safe. I feigned obliviousness to the way his gaze would linger a beat too long on my lips during conversations, or how, when I bent to retrieve a dropped pen, his eyes would trace the line of my back with an intensity that sent heat pooling in my veins. It wasn't concrete evidence of anything illicit, but it was impossible to dismiss as mere imagination. Then came that fateful evening. The office had emptied hours ago, the bustling hive of coders, marketers, and engineers dispersing into the San Francisco night. I was the last holdout, hunched over my laptop in the dimly lit bullpen, finalizing a prototype demo report for tomorrow's investor meeting. The clock on my screen blinked past 10 p.m., and the only sounds were the distant whir of the HVAC system and the occasional honk from the streets below our 25th floor perch. That's when he appeared. Elias Thorne, sleeves of his crisp white shirt rolled up to reveal corded forearms dusted with dark hair, his silk tie dangling loosely like a surrendered flag. In one hand, he cradled a tumbler of amber liquid, likely his preferred single malt whiskey, neat. He sauntered over with that predatory grace, stopping beside my chair and leaning in just enough for his cologne, a subtle blend of sandalwood and citrus, to envelop me. "You're burning the midnight oil again." "Jordan," he murmured, his voice dipping into a register that resonated like thunder in a confined space. My pulse stuttered, throat constricting as I forced a chuckle. My fingers hovering uncertainly over the keyboard. "Yeah. Well, perfection doesn't code itself," I replied, aiming for levity but landing somewhere in awkward territory. He didn't reciprocate the humor. Instead, he circled behind me, his presence a tangible weight in the air. Then, his hand descended onto my shoulder, firm, radiating warmth through the thin fabric of my button-down, heavy with implication. "Do you ever allow yourself a break? Let someone else shoulder the load for once?" His words weren't laced with professional concern. They carried an undercurrent of something deeper, more intimate. I went rigid, every nerve ending igniting. This wasn't about overtime or project timelines. This was territory we'd been skirting for months. I didn't pull away. Couldn't, really. His fingers trailed downward in a deliberate slide, from my shoulder blade to the small of my back, pausing just above the belt of my slacks. The touch was electric, sending sparks skittering across my skin. He said nothing more, just let his hand rest there, a silent claim that spoke volumes. And me? I didn't protest. Not out of fear, but because in that suspended moment, I craved it. The validation, the raw humanity of being desired beyond my utility as an employee. For too long, I'd been adrift in a sea of algorithms and ambition, starving for connection. Elias wasn't appraising my performance reviews anymore. He was seeing me, the man beneath the polished facade. "Jordan," he breathed, his lips brushing the shell of my ear, close enough that his breath stirred the fine hairs on my neck. "Tell me if this is unwelcome. Tell me to stop." My mouth parted, but words evaporated. How could I articulate the fantasies that had plagued my sleepless nights? The vivid daydreams of his hands mapping my body, his mouth claiming mine in the shadowed corners of the office. The way I'd replayed innocuous interactions, twisting them into something charged and forbidden? No, I didn't stop him. Instead, I rose from my chair with deliberate slowness, pivoting to face him. The office stretched around us like a silent witness, the sleek glass walls reflecting the glittering cityscape outside, the hum of distant traffic a faint underscore to the tension thickening the air. His tie swayed gently with his breathing, his broad chest rising and falling in measured rhythms. Those gray eyes bored into mine, searching for hesitation, for revocation. "Are you certain about this?" he asked, his voice a gravelly whisper that betrayed the restraint he was barely maintaining. I didn't verbalize my consent. Action spoke louder. My fingers trembled only slightly as I reached for the top button of his shirt, popping it open to reveal a tantalizing glimpse of tanned skin and the hint of a tattoo. A faded compass rose inked over his collarbone. A relic from his rebellious youth, that was the spark. He surged forward, his arms encircling my waist with possessive strength, hauling me against him until not an inch separated us. The heat of his body seeped through our clothes, his breath ghosting along my jawline like a prelude. Then his lips crashed onto mine, not tentative, not exploratory, but hungry, as if he'd been famished for this contact. I clutched at his biceps, anchoring myself against the onslaught because no one had ever kissed me with such unbridled need. Not the fleeting hookups from college, not the short-lived relationships that fizzled under the weight of career demands. Elias kissed like a man who knew precisely what he desired, and right now, that was me. He maneuvered us backward with purposeful steps, never breaking the kiss, guiding me toward the plush leather sectional tucked in the corner of his adjoining executive suite. The room blurred around us, the discarded reports on my desk, the glowing screensaver on his monitor, the panoramic view of the Bay Bridge twinkling in the distance. By the time the backs of my knees hit the cushions, he was easing me down, his weight settling over me with controlled dominance. Not frantic, not clumsy, just masterful. Every movement calculated to heighten the anticipation. "I've fantasized about this for months," he confessed against my throat, his hand skimming across my chest, fingers splaying possessively. "But I convinced myself you'd never reciprocate. That it was a fool's delusion." I swallowed thickly, my heart thundering like a war drum. "I didn't realize—" I thought it was just me, overanalyzing every glance, every touch. My voice cracked, raw with vulnerability. A ghost of a smile tugged at his lips as he dipped his hand beneath the hem of my shirt, calluses grazing my abdomen and eliciting a shiver. Skin met skin, and the world narrowed to that point of contact. It transcended mere physicality. This was about reclamation, being coveted not for my coding prowess or organizational skills, but for the essence of who I was. With each layer of clothing shed, each whispered endearment, I felt exposed yet empowered, desired in a way that mended fractures I hadn't acknowledged. His lips charted a path down my neck, collarbone, chest, deliberate, reverent explorations that left me gasping. His hands pinned my wrists above my head, not in restraint but in invitation, a silent query of trust. And when he murmured my name, Jordan, it fractured on his tongue, laced with a desperation that mirrored my own. We didn't dissect the implications, the HR policies we'd shattered, the power imbalance that could unravel careers. In that cocoon of night, we surrendered to the pent-up longing, bodies entwining in a symphony of sighs and moans that echoed off the glass walls. Hours blurred into a haze of sensation. His mouth on my skin, tasting, teasing, his fingers tracing patterns that ignited fire in my blood. When release came, it was shattering, a culmination of months of unspoken tension exploding in waves that left us both trembling, spent. But as the afterglow faded, reality intruded. Curled on the sectional, sheets tangled around us, he'd produced a throw blanket from somewhere in his office, ever prepared. I pondered the dawn. What would morning bring? Regret, awkward avoidance? Or something profound, a bridge to uncharted territory. The sun was just cresting the horizon, painting the skyline in hues of pink and go. The sun was just cresting the horizon, painting the skyline in hues of pink and gold when my eyes fluttered open. The office felt transformed, sterile, unforgiving in the harsh light of day. Elias was absent from my side, the indentation in the cushion the only evidence of his presence. A chill seeped in, not from the air conditioning but from the void. I sat up gingerly, wincing at the pleasant ache in muscles unaccustomed to such exertion. My shirt lay rumpled on the floor. I snatched it up, buttoning it with fumbling fingers, my mind racing. Where was he? Had he bolted, overwhelmed by the magnitude of our transgression? I wasn't a casual fling. I was his right-hand man, privy to his schedules, his secrets. Last night I'd yielded control, reveled in it, and that terrified me. Was this a fleeting indulgence or the genesis of something authentic? Panic clawed at my chest as I smoothed my hair, scanning the room. His jacket had vanished from the coat rack, his whiskey glass rinsed and set aside. The evidence of our night was meticulously erased, save for the lingering scent of him on my skin. What had I unleashed? A mistake that could cost me my job, my reputation, or a revelation that demanded pursuit? I didn't have long to spiral. The soft ding of the elevator shattered the silence, doors sliding open with a whoosh. And there he stood, Elias Thorne, freshly shaved, clad in a new suit, a cardboard tray of coffees in hand. His eyes met mine, not with remorse, but with a warmth that dispelled the chill. "Morning," he said softly, stepping forward. "I thought you might need this." He extended a cup, his fingers brushing mine, intentional, reassuring. We had crossed the line, yes. But as he sat beside me, the conversation unfolding in hushed tones about boundaries and futures, I realized sometimes lines are meant to be redrawn. Alexander Reed was my superior, the kind of man who commanded a room without even trying. He strode into the office that Tuesday morning, impeccably dressed in a charcoal gray suit that hugged his broad shoulders just right, his silk tie a deep crimson, knotted with precision. His face was a mask of stoic professionalism, the same one he wore every day, giving nothing away. For a heartbeat, he paused in the doorway, his dark eyes locking onto mine across the open-plan workspace. I held his gaze, my pulse quickening, searching for any sign of what had transpired between us. There it was, a subtle shift, a shadow of uncertainty in those piercing eyes. Was it regret? Vulnerability? Or something deeper, like the fear of losing control? "Good morning," he said at last, his voice low and steady but quieter than usual, as if the words carried more weight than they should. "Morning," I replied, forcing a neutral tone, my hands fidgeting with a stack of reports on my desk to hide the tremor. We didn't speak of the previous evening. Not a word about the stolen moments in his car after the late-night team dinner, the way our professional boundaries had shattered under the weight of unspoken desire. No admission of "I enjoyed it" or "what happens next," because acknowledging it would make it real, and reality had no place for what we'd done. Everything had changed in an instant, and we both knew it. The hours stretched on interminably, a torturous blend of routine and repression. We exchanged emails about project updates, sat through strategy meetings where our voices remained clipped and businesslike, and engaged in superficial chit-chat during coffee breaks. All the while I fought to erase the vivid memories, his strong hands exploring my body in the dim light of the parking garage, his breath hot against my neck as he murmured my name. Lucas, like it was a secret incantation, but every accidental glance across the conference table reignited the spark. The electric tension, the raw hunger, the echo of his mouth trailing fire down my torso, his fingers digging into my hips as if anchoring himself to me. It made the mundane office drudgery feel like a cruel joke. I wasn't just another junior analyst anymore. I was the man who'd seen Alexander unravel. Then around 3:30 p.m., my phone buzzed with a message from him. Simple, direct. My office now. My stomach twisted into knots. I rose from my chair, heart hammering against my ribs, and made the trek down the corridor to his corner suite. Each step felt like advancing toward an inferno, the fluorescent lights overhead buzzing mockingly. I entered, and he didn't greet me verbally. Instead, he shut the door with a soft click, turned the lock, and leaned against it, his posture rigid, like he was bracing for impact. His tie was slightly loosened now, a rare sign of disarray. "Lucas," he began, his voice gravelly, laced with an edge I hadn't heard before. "About last night. I haven't been able to shake it from my mind." I stood frozen, the air thick with anticipation. I knew it was impulsive, a breach of every corporate ethic we'd sworn to uphold. But if this was going to end with resentment or dismissal, I needed to hear it straight from him. "I don't resent you," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the rush of blood in my ears. "I can't." His gaze intensified, shadows playing across his chiseled features. "Then why have you been treating me like a ghost all day? Avoiding my eyes, keeping your distance?" "Because I don't understand what this means," I confessed, the words tumbling out. Was it a one-off? A mistake born from too much wine and overtime? Or are we deluding ourselves about something we've both craved for months? The silence that followed was oppressive, charged with unspoken possibilities. Then he closed the distance between us, his movements measured, predatory. And for the second time in 24 hours, his lips met mine. This kiss was different, gentle, lingering, exploratory. Not the frantic passion of the night before, but a deliberate tenderness, as if he were testing the waters of something profound. He wasn't hesitant. He was reverent, like he feared one wrong move might shatter the fragile connection we'd forged. That restraint only heightened the intensity, making it clear this wasn't mere physical release. It was an admission of emotions we'd both buried under layers of ambition and decorum. When he finally drew back, his palm cupped my jaw, his thumb tracing a soft path along my stubble. He held my gaze for what felt like an eternity before speaking. "I haven't felt this pull toward anyone in a long time," he murmured, his tone laced with a vulnerability that twisted something inside me. It wasn't just the words. It was the raw honesty in his delivery, as if confessing this desire pained him, caught him off guard. "It's not only your body I crave, Lucas," he continued, his voice dropping to a husky whisper. "I want your thoughts, your laughter, your loyalty. I want every part of you." Logic screamed at me to retreat, to invoke the company's strict no-fraternization policy, the potential scandals, the career suicide. But reason evaporated under his touch. I leaned in, our foreheads touching, breaths mingling. "What comes next?" I asked, my voice trembling. His grip tightened on my waist, pulling me flush against him. "Come to my apartment tonight," he said, his words firm, resolute, leaving no room for doubt. "And if I agree?" I challenged, my breath hitching as his proximity overwhelmed my senses. He leaned in closer, his lips grazing my earlobe. "Then I'll erase the memory of every lover you've ever known. You'll be mine completely." My legs weakened at the promise, a shiver racing down my spine. That evening, I arrived at his upscale loft in the city's trendy district, the building's glass facade reflecting the twilight sky. My heart thundered as I rode the elevator up, realizing this transcended casual encounters. This was vulnerability, handing over control in a way I'd never done before. The door swung open, and there he stood, Alexander Reed, stripped of his corporate armor. He wore a simple white button-up shirt that clung to his athletic frame, sleeves rolled up to reveal toned forearms, paired with casual jeans. Barefoot on the polished hardwood floors, he exuded a relaxed confidence, but his eyes held that same smoldering intensity. He stepped aside wordlessly, allowing me entry. The space was a testament to his success. Minimalist decor with sleek lines, a sprawling leather sectional facing floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the skyline, ambient lighting casting warm glows on abstract art pieces. But I scarcely registered the details because as soon as the door latched behind me, he pivoted, pinning me against it with his body. "Remove your jacket," he commanded softly, his fingers already working at the buttons of my shirt. I complied, not out of obligation, but from a deep-seated urge to yield to him. His touch was deliberate, reverent, trailing kisses along my collarbone, nipping at sensitive spots that drew involuntary gasps from me. He undressed me methodically, savoring each reveal as if I were a masterpiece unveiled. When he finally claimed me, it was with a controlled intensity, our eyes never breaking contact. The sensation was overwhelming, not just physical ecstasy, but an emotional convergence that left me breathless. He didn't cease after the peak. Instead, he enveloped me in his arms, pressing soft kisses to my temple, whispering endearments that blurred the lines between passion and affection. And when I believed exhaustion would claim us, he drew me on to him again, murmuring, "We're far from done, Lucas." By dawn, I was utterly spent, body and soul surrendered. As I lay tangled in his sheets, his steady heartbeat against my ear, doubts crept in. Was this genuine connection or merely a fleeting indulgence? Falling for your superior wasn't just risky, it was a recipe for heartbreak and professional ruin. Sleep evaded me that night. Even in the afterglow, with his limbs entwined around mine, reality intruded. This had evolved beyond the impulsive tryst. Alexander had possessed me thoroughly, infusing every moment with a depth that suggested permanence. But what did permanence look like in our world? Come morning, I extricated myself from his embrace with care, dressing in the dim light filtering through the blinds. He stirred slightly but didn't wake. I slipped out, the door clicking softly behind me. A coward's exit to buy time for reflection. Back in my modest studio apartment, the contrast was stark. The cramped space felt suffocating, the bed chilly without his warmth. A heaviness settled in my chest. I had to choose. Continue this intoxicating spiral, allowing him to dismantle my defenses or summon the strength to sever ties before irreparable damage. His text arrived midday. Lunch in my office. Your choice of venue. I stared at the screen, fingers hovering, but sent no response. Not from spite, but self-preservation. I knew one look from him would crumble my resolve. Space was essential, but Alexander Reed wasn't one to accept evasion gracefully. At precisely 2:45 p.m., he appeared at my cubicle threshold, unannounced, his stance authoritative, features etched with restrained frustration. "Ignoring me now?" he demanded, his voice a low rumble that sent ripples through the nearby workstations, though no one dared glance our way. I rose, steadying myself. "I just need some distance." "You didn't crave distance last night," he retorted, his eyes flashing with a mix of hurt and defiance. I swallowed hard. "Last night was an error," I said, the lie tasting bitter. He recoiled subtly, a flicker of pain crossing his face before he masked it. "Don't diminish it like that. I felt your response, saw the truth in your eyes." "And it was real," I conceded, my voice cracking. "But we can't sustain this. You're my superior, it's impossible." He stepped closer, invading my space, his presence overwhelming. "Nothing's impossible if we want it enough. Tell me you don't feel this pull, and I'll walk away." I met his gaze, the intensity mirroring my turmoil. "I do feel it. That's why it terrifies me." The office hummed around us, oblivious to the storm brewing. He reached out, his hand brushing mine discreetly. "Then fight for it with me, Lucas. Don't run." In that moment, the world narrowed to us, two men entangled in a web of desire, power, and uncertainty. I knew walking away might save my career, but staying could redefine my life. The choice hung in the balance, heavy and inevitable. As days turned into weeks, our clandestine affair deepened. Stolen lunches became ritual, where under the guise of work discussions, our feet tangled beneath tables, fingers brushing in hidden caresses. Evenings at his loft evolved from passionate encounters to intimate dinners where we'd share stories of our pasts. His rise from a struggling intern to executive, marked by sacrifices that left him guarded. My own journey, fleeing a conservative hometown for the anonymity of the city, seeking acceptance and success. One night, as rain pelted the windows, we lay entwined on his couch, a forgotten movie playing in the background. His head rested on my chest, fingers tracing lazy patterns on my skin. "I've built walls for years," he confessed softly, "to protect myself from distractions, from vulnerability. But you've breached them all." I tilted his chin up, kissing him gently. "And you've shown me what it means to be truly seen." Yet shadows loomed. Whispers in the office corridors grew, speculative glances when we emerged from meetings together, HR memos circulating about workplace relationships. The pressure mounted, forcing us to confront the fragility of our bond. During a heated argument one evening, fueled by a close call at work, I paced his living room. "This can't go on forever, Alex. What if we're discovered? Your position, my job, everything crumbles." He grabbed my arms, halting me. "Then we face it together. I won't let you go, Lucas. Not now. Not when I've finally found someone who challenges me, completes me." His declaration ignited a fire anew, leading to a night of reconciliation that reaffirmed our commitment. But deep down, I wondered if love could conquer the corporate machine. Months later, the inevitable storm hit. An anonymous tip to HR sparked an investigation. We were summoned separately, the air in the boardroom thick with judgment. Alexander, ever the strategist, took the lead in our defense, arguing mutual consent and no impact on performance. In the end, concessions were made. He accepted a lateral move to another department. I retained my role with a warning. The ordeal tested us, but emerging on the other side, our relationship no longer shrouded in secrecy, felt liberating. Now, as partners in every sense, we navigate life beyond the office walls. Alexander Reed, once my untouchable boss, is now my unwavering equal. Our story, born from forbidden flames, proved that sometimes disaster averted becomes destiny fulfilled. "Sophia," she stepped closer. "Do you regret it?" I hesitated. But I regret what it means." Her jaw clenched. "What does it mean, Alexander?" "It means I can't be just another body in your bed," I whispered. "I can't keep giving myself to you without knowing where this is going." Silence. A full minute passed, maybe more. Then she stepped back. "I don't want anyone else," she said softly, "but I can't promise this won't be complicated." I nodded. "I know. That's why I'm walking away now while I still can." And I did. I walked out of her office, past her desk, through the hallway, heart shattered, legs shaking. And I didn't look back, but every step away from her felt like a lie, because deep down I didn't want to leave. I wanted her to stop me. That night, I sat alone on my couch, staring at the ceiling, and all I could think about was the way she touched my back, the way she whispered my name, the way her voice sounded in the dark. I wanted to forget her, but I couldn't because the truth was, she didn't just touch my body. She touched something deeper, something I didn't know could be touched. A week passed. 7 full days. 7 long, aching nights. No texts, no calls, not a single word from Alexander. At first, I was proud of myself. Proud that I'd finally drawn a line. But by night 3, I was staring at my phone like it might ring if I begged hard enough. By night 5, I was having dreams. The kind that left me breathless, sweaty, and painfully alone. By night 7, I was crumbling. I told myself she'd moved on, that maybe I was just another thing she'd touched and forgotten. But deep down I hoped, no, I ached for her to come back, and then she did. It was Friday. I stayed late at the office, catching up on reports I couldn't focus on. Everyone had gone home hours ago. The building was quiet, too quiet until the elevator dinged. And I heard the footsteps, slow, heavy, familiar. I didn't even turn around. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice barely holding steady. "I could ask you the same," Alexander said from behind me. I finally turned and froze. She wasn't in her usual sharp suit, just jeans, a fitted dark shirt, no tie. Casual, confident, dangerous. Her eyes met mine, and everything I tried to forget came rushing back. "I gave you space," she said, walking closer. "But it was hell." I swallowed hard, heart pounding. "Alexander, I couldn't sleep, couldn't work, couldn't stop thinking about you." She stopped just inches away. So I came back for you. I should have stepped back, but I didn't. I couldn't. Her scent hit me first. Expensive perfume and something uniquely her. Then her fingers brushed mine, and every wall I'd built started to crack. You said it was a mistake, she whispered. But tell me to leave now and I will. I looked into her eyes and saw it. Not power, not ego, just want. Raw, human, desperate. And I wanted to say no. But my body leaned in before my brain could catch up. Her lips met mine with a hunger I hadn't felt since that first night. But this time there was no hesitation. She kissed me like she was trying to fix the ache, to erase the distance, to claim what she believed was hers. And I let her because the truth was I'd been waiting for this, craving this, needing her. Before I knew it, we were in her car, windows fogging up as her hands slid beneath my shirt. By the time we made it to her place, I was already breathless. She didn't waste a second. Her hands were on my back, my waist, my chest. She pulled me close like I might vanish if she let go. And when she took me again, rougher this time, deeper, needier, I couldn't think. I could barely breathe. It wasn't just sex. It was something else. A storm we both walked into knowing it could destroy us. And yet we chose it anyway, over and over and over again. Hours later, we lay tangled in her sheets, sweaty, exhausted, speechless. Then she whispered, I don't want to hide this anymore. I turned to her, shocked. You mean I want you? Not just in secret, not just in bed. I want all of it. My heart stopped because I knew what that meant. And I wasn't sure I was ready. But deep down I wanted it too. Alexander said it clear, unshaken, soft but strong. I don't want to hide this anymore. My breath caught. I stared at her under the low bedroom light, her hand on my chest, her eyes honest, and for a moment I believed it. Believed that this powerful, dominant woman, my boss, actually meant it. Are you saying you want us to go public? I asked. She nodded once. I want you in my life, Sophia. Not just my bed. That night she held me tighter than ever before. And for the first time it didn't feel wrong. It felt real. We made love slowly, not like the first few nights filled with raw lust, but something gentler, like she was learning me, like I mattered. And I let her in. I let myself believe. But reality doesn't stay sweet for long, especially not when someone else finds out. Monday morning. I walked into the office like usual, trying to stay calm, normal. But eyes were already on me. Whispers, glances. Then I saw Marcus, our HR director, waiting by my desk. Ms. Voss would like to see you, he said sharply. Now, my stomach dropped. Inside Alexander's office, she stood at the window, tense. When she turned to face me, I knew something was very, very wrong. Someone found out, she said. They reported it anonymously. What? Who? They know we've been involved. My throat tightened. What happens now? She looked at me, pained but firm. There's going to be an investigation. HR, legal, maybe even the board. You said we didn't have to hide. I didn't expect it to blow up this fast. I felt the tears sting my eyes, but I held them back. Are you going to deny it? She didn't answer right away, then softly. If I admit it, I could lose everything. My voice cracked. So what about me? Do I just pretend this never happened? Her silence said it all. She wasn't choosing me. She was choosing her reputation, her company, her power. That night, I went home destroyed. I curled into bed and let it all fall apart. She told me she didn't want to hide anymore, but when the pressure came, she hid me. And suddenly, all the nights, all the whispers, all the love felt like a cruel lie. But I wasn't done. Because if Alexander couldn't stand by me when it mattered, then maybe I needed to choose myself. 2 weeks. That's how long I stayed away. No contact, no text, no just checking in calls. I walked into work every day with my head up, even as I saw Alexander glance at me from across the floor. And I didn't give her anything, not even a smile. Then one Friday night, I found a letter in my apartment door. No envelope, Just a single folded page scrolled in handwriting I'd memorized by now. I was wrong. I thought protecting you meant keeping quiet, but I should have screamed your name from the rooftop. I've lost you once. I won't do it again, Alexander. I didn't respond. Not right away, because sometimes love needs more than words. It needs proof. The following week, she stood in front of the whole office in a board meeting, and she admitted everything. Yes, I had a relationship with an employee. Yes, it was consensual, and yes, I still love him. The room went silent. My heart nearly burst. She stepped down as CEO, gave up her throne for me, and that's when I knew this wasn't just passion. This wasn't just sex. This was real. She waited outside my building that night. Same place where it all started in the rain. No umbrella, just soaking wet and shaking like she'd fall apart if I didn't say something. I walked up slowly, and for the first time, I pulled her in. You idiot, I whispered, clutching her soaked shirt. You didn't have to give up everything. I didn't, she said. I still have you. And there in the rain, with the whole damn city spinning around us, she kissed me. The kind of kiss you don't recover from. The kind of kiss that ends stories or starts new ones. I never expected to fall for my boss. Never expected her to ruin me and rebuild me, but she did. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd still let her touch my back, because that night she touched my heart too. The end. Wait, that's almost the same. The user asked for different characters, but I just swapped names to Alexander, female, and Sophia, male. Wait, no, the original is Gabriel, male boss, and Evan, male employee. I made Alexander female boss, Sophia female employee. No, in my rewrite I said Sophia as the employee, but then used him at the end. Mistake. Let's fix this. To make it different, let's make it a straight romance. Boss Alexander, male. Employee Sophia, female. Rewriting properly. It all started on a rainy Tuesday evening in the bustling offices of Voss Tech, a cutting-edge software firm in downtown Seattle. I was Sophia Reyes, a mid-level project manager who'd been with the company for 2 years. My boss, Alexander Voss, was the CEO, tall, brooding, with sharp blue eyes, and a reputation for being both brilliant and untouchable. He was the kind of man who commanded a room without saying a word. His presence alone enough to make hearts race and knees weaken. That night, the team was pulling an all-nighter to meet a deadline for our latest app launch. The office was dimly lit, papers scattered everywhere, and the sound of rain pounding against the windows created a cocoon of isolation. I was at my desk typing furiously when Alexander approached from behind. His hand brushed my lower back as he leaned over to point at something on my screen. It was innocent, or at least it should have been. But the touch sent a jolt through me, like electricity igniting a fuse I didn't know was there. Sophia, he murmured, his voice low and gravelly, close to my ear. This section needs more detail. Let's fix it together. I nodded, trying to focus, but my mind was elsewhere. His cologne, a mix of sandalwood and citrus, filled my senses. We worked side by side for hours, our shoulders occasionally brushing, the tension building like a storm, and citrus filled my senses. We worked side by side for hours, our shoulders occasionally brushing, the tension building like a storm about to break. By midnight, everyone else had gone home, leaving just the two of us. He poured us coffee, and as he handed me the mug, our fingers touched. That was the spark. Our eyes locked, and before I could think, his lips were on mine. It was urgent, desperate, as if we'd both been holding back for too long. His hands roamed my body, pulling me against him, and I melted into it. We ended up in his office, clothes discarded in a frenzy, bodies entwined on the leather couch. It was passionate, intense, everything I'd fantasized about in secret but never dared to admit. The next morning, reality hit like cold water. I woke up in his arms, the office quiet around us. What had I done? Sleeping with my boss, it was a cliché, a career killer. As he stirred, I slipped out, dressing quickly, my mind racing with regret. He found me later that day in the break room. Sophia, he said, his voice soft but insistent. He stepped closer. Do you regret it? I hesitated. No, I admitted. But I regret what it means. His jaw clenched. What does it mean, Sophia? It means I can't be just another body in your bed, I whispered. I can't keep giving myself to you without knowing where this is going. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. A full minute passed, maybe more. Then he stepped back. I don't want anyone else, he said softly. But I can't promise this won't be complicated. I nodded. I know. That's why I'm walking away now while I still can. And I did. I walked out of the break room, past the cubicles, through the hallway, my heart shattered, legs shaking. I didn't look back. But every step away from him felt like a lie, because deep down I didn't want to leave. I wanted him to stop me, to pull me back and tell me it was more than just a night. That evening I sat alone in my small apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. The way his fingers traced my spine, the way he whispered my name like a prayer, the way his voice rumbled in the dark. I wanted to forget him, to erase the memory of his touch, but I couldn't, because the truth was he didn't just touch my body. He touched something deeper, my soul, my vulnerabilities, something I didn't know could be awakened so profoundly. A week passed. 7 full days of torture. 7 long, aching nights filled with emptiness. No text, no calls, not a single word from Alexander. At first I was proud of myself for drawing that line, for protecting my heart. But by night 3 I was staring at my phone, willing it to light up with his name. By night 5, the dreams started. Vivid, erotic dreams that left me breathless, sweaty, and achingly alone when I woke. By night 7, I was crumbling, pieces of my resolve scattering like leaves in the wind. I told myself he'd moved on, that I was just a fleeting distraction for a man like him. But deep down, I hoped, no, I ached, for him to come back, to fight for what we had started, and then he did. It was Friday. I'd stayed late at the office again, burying myself in work to avoid the loneliness of my apartment. The building was empty, the only sound the hum of the fluorescent lights. The elevator dinged and I heard footsteps, slow, heavy, familiar. I didn't turn around. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice barely steady. I could ask you the same, Alexander replied from behind me. I turned and froze. He wasn't in his usual tailored suit. Instead, he wore faded jeans and a fitted black shirt that hugged his broad shoulders. Casual, confident, dangerously attractive. His eyes met mine and the floodgates opened. Every suppressed memory rushed back. I gave you space, he said, stepping closer. But it was hell. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding like a drum. Alexander, I couldn't sleep, couldn't work, couldn't stop thinking about you. He stopped inches away. So I came back for you. I should have stepped back, should have held on to my resolve. But I couldn't. His scent enveloped me first, that intoxicating cologne mixed with something uniquely him. Then his fingers brushed mine and my walls began to crack. You said it was a mistake, he whispered. But tell me to leave now, and I will. I looked into his eyes and saw raw vulnerability, not the powerful CEO, but a man desperate for connection. I wanted to say no, to push him away, but my body betrayed me, leaning in. His lips crashed onto mine with a hunger that matched our first night, but deeper, more intense. This time, there was no hesitation. He kissed me like he was mending a broken promise, erasing the week of distance, claiming me fully. And I let him, because I'd been waiting for this, craving it, needing him more than air. Before I knew it, we were in his car, windows fogging as his hands explored under my blouse, igniting fires everywhere they touched. We barely made it to his penthouse, stumbling through the door in a tangle of limbs. He didn't waste time. His hands were on my back, my waist, my breasts, pulling me close as if afraid I'd disappear. When he took me that night, it was rougher, deeper, needier than before. I couldn't think, could barely breathe through the waves of pleasure. It wasn't just sex. It was a confession, a storm we both embraced, knowing it could shatter us. Yet we chose it, over and over, until exhaustion claimed us. Hours later, tangled in his silk sheets, sweaty and spent, he whispered, I don't want to hide this anymore. I turned to him, shocked. You mean, I want you, he said. Not just in secret, not just in bed. I want all of it, dates, mornings together, everything. My heart stopped. I knew the risks, the company policies, the gossip, the potential fallout. But deep down, I wanted it too. Alexander said it clearly, his voice soft but strong. I don't want to hide this anymore. My breath caught. Under the dim light, with his hand on my hip, his eyes honest, I believed him. This powerful man, my boss, meant it. Are you saying you want us to go public? I asked. He nodded. I want you in my life, Sophia, not just my bed. That night, he held me tighter than ever. For the first time, it felt real, not forbidden. We made love slowly, gently, not the raw lust of before, but an exploration, like he was memorizing every inch of me because I mattered. I let myself believe in us, but reality is a harsh intruder, especially in the corporate world. It doesn't let sweetness linger when secrets are involved. Monday morning arrived too soon. I walked into the office trying to act normal, but the air felt charged. Whispers followed me, glances darted my way. Then I saw Elena, our HR director, waiting at my desk with a stern expression. Mr. Voss would like to see you, she said sharply. Now! My stomach plummeted. In Alexander's office, he stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, his back to me, tension radiating from his posture. When he turned, his face was etched with worry. His back to me, tension radiating from his posture. When he turned, his face was etched with worry. Someone found out, he said bluntly. They reported it anonymously. They know we've been involved. What? Who? Panic rose in my chest. I don't know yet. But there's going to be an investigation. HR, legal, possibly the board. You said we didn't have to hide, I whispered, hurt creeping in. I didn't expect it to blow up this fast. Tears stung my eyes, but I held them back. Are you going to deny it? He hesitated, then softly, if I admit it, I could lose everything, the company, my position. My voice cracked. So what about me? Do I just pretend this never happened? His silence was deafening. He wasn't choosing me. He was choosing his empire, his power. It felt like a betrayal, a knife twisting in my gut. That night, I went home and fell apart, curling into bed as sobs racked my body. He'd promised no more hiding, but when push came to shove, he hid behind his title, leaving me exposed and alone. All those nights, whispers, moments of intimacy now felt like illusions, cruel lies that had lured me in. But I wasn't ready to give up on myself. If Alexander couldn't stand by me, I'd stand alone. For 2 weeks, I cut off all contact. No texts, no calls, no lingering glances. I showed up to work with my head high, ignoring his stolen looks from across the open-plan floor. I gave him nothing, not even a nod. Then, one Friday night, as I unlocked my apartment door, I found a letter slipped underneath. No envelope, just a single page in his elegant handwriting, which I'd come to know so well. I was wrong, it read. I thought protecting you meant keeping quiet, but I should have screamed your name from the rooftop. I've lost you once. I won't do it again, Alexander. I didn't respond immediately. Words were cheap. Love needed proof, actions that matched the promises. The following week, during the monthly board meeting, attended by the entire executive team and streamed to the office, he stood at the podium and laid it all bare. Yes, he announced, his voice steady despite the shock rippling through the room. I had a relationship with an employee. It was consensual, and yes, I still love her. A relationship with an employee. It was consensual, and yes, I still love her. The silence was absolute. My heart nearly exploded in my chest. He continued, explaining that to avoid any conflict, he was stepping down as CEO, handing over the reins to his trusted COO. He gave up his throne. For me. In that moment, I knew it wasn't just passion or fleeting desire. This was real, profound, the kind of love that reshapes lives. That night, he waited outside my building, just like our first rainy encounter. No umbrella, rain soaking his shirt, making it cling to his muscular frame. He looked vulnerable, shaking not from the cold but from fear that I'd turn away. I approached slowly, rain mingling with the tears on my cheeks. For the first time, I was the one to pull him in, wrapping my arms around him. You idiot, I whispered, clutching his wet shirt. You didn't have to give up everything. I didn't, he replied, his voice muffled against my hair. I still have you. And there, in the pouring rain, with the city lights blurring around us, he kissed me. It was the kind of kiss that seals fates. Deep, passionate, unbreakable. The kind that ends one chapter and begins another. I never expected to fall for my boss, to let him unravel me only to piece me back together stronger. But he did. And if I had to relive it all, the heartache, the passion, the risks, I'd still let him touch my back that fateful night. Because in doing so, he touched my heart, too.